All right, welcome back, everyone. Day 2 here at Automate Live, and it has been an amazing day filled with technology, automation. The latest solutions are moving our industries forward around the manufacturing industry. Joining with me today is Dan White. He's the Director of Technical Marketing here at Opto 22. Dan, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You know, it's great to be here because you guys are talking about the important conversations that need to happen in manufacturing when it comes to the way we're collecting and handling data. Cybersecurity has a big conversation, the convergence of IT and OT. But before we dive into all that, talk to me about Opto 22. Tell the audience, who is Opto 22 as a company?
Well, Opto 22, founded in 1974, so we're just over 50 years old, almost 51. A company of engineers, really for engineers. We started out back in the 70s with the original creation of the potted solid-state relay. From there, continued to innovate into PC-based automation, eventually moving on to our own controllers, and really taking advantage of open and available technologies that we can provide into the OT space for our customers. So we like to take advantage of standard, open architecture type products that everybody is used to and applying those into the OT space.
And I think it's when we talk about standards, right? I think standards is one of the most important conversations that need to happen in the industry. Data is becoming a much more common topic. More people want to collect data. More people want to collect data, want to contextualize data. So where do companies start? Let's talk about what are some of the biggest problems that companies are facing when it comes to data and real-time information on their floor?
I think the first problem a lot of companies are facing is that they're just not collecting that data yet. Now, those of them who are collecting some data, it's about creating consistent data. So, if I've got data coming from over here and data coming from over there, and they're in two different formats, or they're not using the same engineering units, or they're not standard in some way, then it becomes kind of an impossible task to really compare that data and make sense of that data. So contextualizing data, I think the two big things are getting the data and getting it where it needs to go, and also making sure that when it gets there, it has the right context ahead of time.
Absolutely. And when we look at what needs to happen on the floor, there's always been this rough spot between IT and OT. And so when companies want to start collecting data, what should they be looking at when they want to have conversations of IT, who's probably an existing, workforce on, and really OT might not be currently at the industry? How do you begin to have those conversations to bridge those gaps together?
Well, I think, we're all used to hearing the Department of No, and IT, is telling me no, and I can't put this on my network. And, where we started as a company, and again, we're an OT company marketing OT products to operational companies that are making things and processing things and so on. But I think the big part is making sure that when we designed our products, IT professionals knew exactly what they were getting, and really designing an OT product that operates as a first-class citizen on an IT network.
Yes.
Things like, supporting LDAP for user authentication, having zero trust, credentials, being able to create users that are authenticated and secure, working DHCP on their networks.
Yes.
All of those all of those IT things that are IT folks are used to, but that we on the OT side, don't usually have to deal with.
100%. So when you look at the OT side, without, getting too technical and, scaring away the audience, how do we begin to flatten that OT area? How do we make it easier for companies to begin to integrate this technology and not try and do everything overnight, right? We need to create things slowly, step by step to start on the low-hanging fruit. Where do we start that flattening?
I think that's exactly the approach. It's just start small. Find one thing, one process or one product or one project where you go, hey, we need data from here. Yeah. And, you can pick up little devices on, things like counting parts or processing uptime and downtime. You can purchase inexpensive edge devices under $1,000 that you can just add on to existing machines. Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't re-outfit your whole machine with a new control system. Tack something on, grab a prox sensor that can count parts as they go by, or a volume sensor that can track flow as it's going through, and get that data and then democratize that data, make it available. But start small, one machine at a time. And, once you've proved it, it's easy to scale it when you start with, products that are part of a scalable architecture.
One of the first projects that I remember working on with Opto 22 was for energy monitoring efficiency, right? We plugged it in. We looked at some compressors and some power pulling from different machines. We were able to determine how do we get the best power efficiency out of when these machines run, when these compressors run, what time of day they're running.
Sure.
What's a good success story that you have on how you've helped a company, how Opto 22 has helped a company really begin to understand the value of collecting and contextualizing data?
It's funny because the first one that actually comes to mind is Opto 22. We are an American manufacturer, and one thing that we noticed was our power bills were pretty high, and as we started focusing more on energy monitoring and we released our own energy monitoring product, we realized that, the way you get charged for power, most people don't really understand this. Yeah, you get paid for how much power you use over the course of that billing cycle that month, but you also pay what's called demand charges. So the 15 minutes out of that entire month that you use the most energy, your pricing gets pegged to that amount. So when we started looking at it, we realized just doing simple things like staging when we bring our machines online. Hey, bring on air handler 1, wait until it's up and running before you bring on air handler 2, or service machine 1, surface mount 2, and phase your kind of bringing everything online. Just lowering your peak demand, we were able to save up 30% on our electric bill. And we've got customers doing that same kind of thing all over the place. In particular, I just thought of another one as we were chatting. We've got customers that are in the heat treating business. It's incredibly energy intensive.
Yes.
And so they're able to now, by monitoring energy on individual machines, on individual processes, they can actually assign an energy cost to a part. And so instead of just thinking of energy as, this is my part of my overhead, now energy can become a specific billable cost to a specific process or item. And just doing that allows you to save money and, price parts appropriately where you might have not been building that cost in.
So let's dive into some more of the technical stuff that's out there now. MQTT, OPC UA, smart plug, they're all buzzwords that are out there. How do companies better understand what they should be looking for when they see all these types of ways we can connect and talk to devices? What should they know from a basic level?
Well, there's really, first and foremost, there's no one size fits all. You hear a lot on social media of MQTT or OPC. We at Opto view those as technologies that work together.
Yeah.
So, you may have a network of machinery that's all communicating together over OPC, but when you start thinking about, now I want to take all this data and get it up to the cloud and get it up into an AI platform where I can analyze it, all of a sudden, now the bandwidth and the amount of data that you're moving matters. When you were just passing information across the facility on a small network, it didn't make much of a difference. But when you're pushing it up to the cloud, now you're going, wait, we can't pump all this, we can't do what we call a pull response architecture, where I'm constantly going, what's the value? What's the value? What's the value every second? Where something like MQTT, which operates on a pub sub architecture, goes, okay, I've got a value, I'm going to send it up to the cloud or to wherever. It could be an on-prem broker. But once I do, I know that value is the right value, and I'm not going to send a new value until I get a change. And so I might have a little bit of a heartbeat or something that says I'm still here and that's still live.
Yes.
But I'm not sending these full, rich data messages back and forth constantly. So remember that, there's no one size fits all. OPC can exist with MQTT. They're both different ways. And, when you talk about Sparkplug, that's a standard of MQTT. Yep. Great for industrial applications. But it all works together. It can all be part of the same ecosystem.
I think when you look at it, that's how you democratize data. When
right.
you figure out there's, in order for an industry or in order for us to able to collect and access and be able to contextualize data, things have to work together. And I think it's one of those things that you as an organization, you as Opto 22 are figuring out how do we not just say our way is the only way?
Right.
How do you go out there and understand this is the way the industry is moving? These are the standards that are happening across the industry. This is how we can make sure that we are making things as easy for the customer as possible.
Right. And I think that's, it's about having an open architecture.
Yeah.
And, people hear open architecture, they get a little bit scared, like, well, I don't want it to be open. I want to make sure it's secure. Two different things. You can have a platform that supports everything from Modbus to OPC to MQTT, but that also has native firewall support, built-in security certificate support, zero trust authentication, VPN access for secure remote access. So I think, open architectures built on platforms that are secure.
Yeah. So let's talk about security. Cybersecurity is a conversation that needs to happen. It can't be avoided when it comes to the way we act and process data. What should companies know when it comes to making sure that their data, their processes, their IT and OT networks are secure? What should they do? From a high level. You got 3 minutes to run through this part.
I would say, first of all, you got to start somewhere. So first you have to sort of do an assessment. Where are you today? Are you a 50-year-old company that's got a big sort of kludged together mess of this from here and that from there and this and that? Or are you developing something from the ground up? A greenfield applications architecture is, of course, going to be cleaner and neater.
Way different than a brownfield.
They're completely different. So knowing where you're at today and knowing where you want to go, I think, is a big part of it. And, knowing why you want to get there and what the reasons are for it. So it's a big question.
It is.
But I think knowing where you are, knowing where you want to be, coming up with a plan to get there, making sure, when we think of OT and the devices that are on OT networks, these are not cyber secure devices typically.
Yeah.
They're just sitting there with open ports. You do not want your OT devices on the internet. And for years it was, so our OT network is here, and here's an air gap between that and the internet.
Authorizations on it.
But that doesn't work well when you start getting into, I'd like to do AI analytics on this stuff. I can't do all that on premise. I need to get that data up to a cloud server. So I think that's where taking advantage of architectures like MQTT Sparkplug and PubSub, and not sitting out there going, I have open ports, come get the data, but I'm going to securely get it where it needs to go, and start making sure it's contextualized, making sure it gets where it needs to go, so that you can start building out that infrastructure for the next level of how are we going to analyze all this data.
Absolutely. So wrapping things up, what makes you so excited about the industry that you're involved with? You're able to work with a wide variety of companies in the manufacturing, the processing, the utility space. What are you excited for looking in the future when it comes to how companies are making their physical processes smarter through the digitalization and data?
What I'm most excited for, and what I really love most about going to work every day and what I do every day, is I wake up every day with a clear sense of why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And for me and for Opto 22, I think that's building things that last. So that isn't just mean building a relay that lasts. It means building a relationship with a customer that lasts. Yeah. I think most customers I deal with every day, these are lifetime customers of Opto. Building relationships with our partners that last. We've been exhibiting at this show with Inductive Automation for a number of years now. We've got a rich ecosystem of partners, relationships with our employees that last. So, all the tech be damned, in my opinion. Yeah. For me, it's about building something that lasts for the future. And, we can see the horizon is bright, but we can also see that we've got a lot of baggage that we got to bring with us. And I think, just if I even have time for a short example, we went back and redesigned a 20-year-old product because we couldn't get chips for it anymore. And we got to a point where we said, hey, our customers, our OEM customers, our end user customers, they're relying on these. These relationships, these customer relationships, I want them to last the same way that I want our products to last. And so for me, it's about going into the future going, hey, we've got something that's going to last. It's going to take you where you need to go. and you don't have to worry about it being obsolete tomorrow. We're going to get there with you one way or another.
I think it's one of those things, right? There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of risk when it comes to the industry, how we're adopting new technology, and then the tools and the standards that Opto 22 is working on putting out, help eliminate this risk, and really at the end of the day, make manufacturers more comfortable with how they run their process on the floor, how they begin to collect data, and how they begin to act on that data all from one spot. So, Dan, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
of course,
Jake.
if you want to learn more about Opto 22, where do they start? Check out your website.
Absolutely, opto22.com.
And then, of course, on social media as well. And, of course, you guys are at a lot of events. So if you ever see someone out there, Opto 22 or a Groove Epic shirt, make sure you stop by and say hi. But that wraps it up for this session of Automate Live. We'll see you guys next time.